many of you were at the Chicago Temple, the downtown church that was overflowing with more than 1,000 low-income African American and Latino residents. Outside, there were empty yellow school buses that had ferried in the crowd. Inside the church floor was a disorganised rainbow defined by the dynamic strips of colour created by different shades of t-shirts. There was a strip of canary yellow on the right-hand side, signifying the Chicago Coalition for the Homeless. A regal purple SEIU block of colour down the left. A red bunch of acorn, probably dreaming of blue. Community leaders at the front. And the noise in the room was deafening. Voices across the hall were singing to the rhythm of hand clapping. We're fired up, we can't take it no more. We're fired up, we can't take it no more. Some people were standing, others were waving their arms. It was electric. And as one speaker emphasised at the beginning of the proceedings, this is the gathering of the grassroots. You had turned out your membership to take back your city. And this is the kind of power that we're celebrating here tonight. So for the past 6 years, I have been travelling around the English-speaking world. I've been to the United Kingdom, Canada, across the United States, Australia, New Zealand and South Africa, looking at and talking with different Labour community coalitions. And just about everywhere I go, I share stories and lessons about the power and practices of the Grassroots Collaborative. This journey of researching coalitions has produced a book about how to build powerful coalitions, and the work of the collaborative takes centre stage as the case study from the United States. And, you know, as I say in the book, and I want to acknowledge tonight, so many of the lessons that I was able to draw out about strong and powerful coalitions come from the talented people the collaborative has around the room, the remarkable staff leaders and executive directors, and the talented and courageous members of your organisations. So tonight is about celebrating the distinctive Labour community power that you have built together. And there are lessons that I draw out in the book that you learn and rules that you practice when you work together in Labour Community Coalition. You know, when common wisdom said that coalitions were powerful with lots of organisations, the idea that bigger was better, the collaborative said no. And it limited its participation to those who hadn't understood the discipline of building power. When the standard practice for coalition building was that you use coalitions for single-issue campaigns alone, the collaborative said no. You said we need to build a multi-issue coalition so that we can build a long-term shift in political power in Chicago. And when everyone thought that coalitions were all about frenetic activity and campaigns, you said no. You said we need to build relationships first before we start working on issues. And when others said working across community and Labour can be hard, you said, well, we know. But we understand that real social power and political change requires it. And so you made it work, and you continue to make it work. And what a magnificent display of community power these strategies have developed. And to me, it's exemplified by the Big Box Living Wage campaign that I feel I've been there with you through that journey, even though it was from a distance. You know, because in 2003, when Walmart knocked on the door of Chicago and stared down and started beating up the progressive community, it was troubled times. But you'd built a creative space across a bunch of different leaders that allowed you to be able to think outside the box when it came to responding to this threat. And you were able to help the Labour movement segue from a fight against Walmart to be able to think politically about how to challenge corporate power. And you turned what could have been a negative space into a creative space with the Living Wage Ordinance. And with the steady leadership of your team of leaders, you made sure you didn't do a rush job. You built steady, disciplined power. You started by building your base. You pulled in new relationships with the Labour movement and new relationships with churches. You built a 50-ward strategy to move power. You used postcards to identify voters and to be able to move aldermen. And you shared a bit of what each of you do best. You had Action Now in the field. You had Labor walking the halls of City Council. You had community organisations targeting key aldermen. And you had your member leaders doing the media. As individual organisations, none of you would have had enough power to be able to do this kind of organising. But together, you are a formidable force. And your Labor community power rocked the mayor. You passed the orders. You caused the biggest companies in the world to threaten a capital flight on Chicago. You forced the mayor to veto. And then some of your politically active partners then punished the hostile alderman. Your legacy was a new terrain in Chicago. The minimum wage was increased, and even with the complexity of negotiations with Walmart, take this victory, that Walmart recognised your power this year. They came to the table to negotiate wages. They've never done that in this country before. They did that because you got the power that made them come to the table. You shifted the political climate in Chicago and you sustained your coalition while you did it. So 10 years on, it's a pleasure to be with you today to celebrate the victories and the power that you've built. And it certainly has been a pleasure to be able to write up your story for an international audience. The lessons that you learnt in this city need to be understood by organisers across the United States and across the globe. It's the lessons like less is more when building long-term coalitions, that less organisations with more power to share is more powerful for a Labor community coalition than just a long list of partners with no more commitment than their letterheads on a piece of paper. The powerful coalitions set an agenda. They set an agenda around things like living wages. They don't react to other people's plans. And you know that coalition power is about the long-term battle. It's about building your organisations. It's about organising. And it's also about shifting the political climate as well as winning social change. And let me tell you, you certainly inspired me. You know, when I was here organising, looking at what could be possible back in Sydney, I saw this curious creature called the Grassroots Collaborative, this different coalition with religious, community and union partners who were prepared to be multi-issue, who were prepared to sustain relationships and knew that we could do something different in Sydney as well. And we are 3 years into building the Sydney Alliance. And like you, we aim to take on the powers that be and to rock the foundations. And I hope sometime in the future we may be able to, you never know, work together on some of these campaigns when it comes to actually turning around the powers that we have. So I want to wish you all well and know that your legacy continues to live, not just here in this city, not just because of the fear that it creates in the power amongst the powers that be, but because you teach others to build Labor community power. And that clear understanding of how power can be built is exactly what this country, this world needs to be able to have cities and communities that actually are made and built for the interests of residents and working people. So thank you. Thank you and congratulations.